What is up, everybody? My name is Amanda. Welcome back to another episode of Ark Survival Evolved. Today we're going to go ahead and build some super strong towers. And I say super strong as in quotations. Strength is relative, so it all depends on how the enemy assaults. But these towers will hopefully help protect you and allow you to be able to snipe and protect your base a little better. The intention is to build multiples, but right now we're just going to build one and show you how to build it. So the first thing you're going to need for this tower is a wooden pillar. I don't suggest any other type of pillar because you're wasting resources at that point. You might need a couple depending on how you're trying to build it and what the terrain is like on yours. You might need 2 or 3. We're essentially going to lower the foundations is the idea. Right here you can see though, I don't really have to lower the foundations. The foundation is pretty low. The reason why we want the foundation low into the ground is a lower sitting foundation is much harder to hit. They might hit the ground instead of directly hitting that foundation, which means that foundation doesn't blow up. And you'll notice we're building out of mainly regular structures. We could use complete S plus, and we could also use complete of the other. I did make a few mistakes as I was building. But you can see right here, we're also placing down fence foundations around it. This is one of the reasons why we wanted this structure as low as we could. Keeping it semi-low towards it is allowing for us to build our structure a specific way. We are placing a foundation basically, and then we are going to go ahead and after we place that foundation, place fence foundations around, which will allow us to build an additional wall around that structure. That's going to give us our extra strength and protection if a rocket does, for some odd reason, make it through with this build. This build is designed to protect even the tower. The tower is generally, unless someone is able to run up on the tower, which hopefully you've got multiple towers or more than one setup here, but you'll be able to go ahead and keep them from running up on the tower. So these towers are, well, it's kind of hard, and if you are not running on an official server, you could lose a little bit of your resources very easily. I won't because I'm building with regular structures, but I do have the S plus demo gun. And as you can see, we're trying to get this, and I'm kind of contemplating whether or not this is correct here, although it is semi-correct, and just that one foundation's not in place. So guys, you can see we're dragging everything down into our hotbar because we're about to start building really quickly here. This tower, what you're needing to do after you get the foundations and the fence foundations placed, start placing walls, preferably the inside versus the outside first. That way you get it all right. Don't make the mistake I did. I completely built a box, a 4 square box, and I forgot to put doors in at this moment. What you'll want to do instead is come back through. I, of course, can fix it with the demo gun. Make sure you set up a section for a door. You don't want to have the door facing the wrong direction and then, or maybe have no door and then can't utilize the bottom. You're wanting to, what we're going to do with the bottom of the tower is put a generator in there, and that generator is going to go ahead and power a turret on the top of the base. Why we have the turret on there is to help prevent against rockets. So after we realized our mistake, we go ahead and place the door frames into the structures. You can see we doubled it up for the extra armor for the door, and we're going to go ahead and place one there. We don't really need a door on this bottom half. We could, again, to protect it, but hopefully nobody's on this side of the door. This door should be facing your inner walls or your outer walls, so that way they would have to get behind it, and that would be very dangerous for them. And again, we're contemplating putting the ceiling down, and I think we do. Yeah, we put the ceiling down, but it is a bit of a mistake. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that out, and we're essentially just going to build our way up with walls. From this point, we've built the walls around the outside edge, and I realize at this point we do need to get up higher because we need to actually build inside. We need to get the rest of it set up. So you can go from the inside and try and snap it, or you can also do it from outside. Snap a ceiling down because otherwise you will not be able to get a ladder just stuck to a wall. It's a shame you can't do it, but unfortunately you can't. And so we go ahead and we place that ladder. That way we can place a ladder. This one in particular needs to be metal that way because this can be a permanent structure once it's done. And here it is. We will start placing door frames, and the intention is to place door frames all around in a circle. I have a few door frames on me at the moment, but I don't have a lot. And right there, you're going to place another one outside, and then you're also going to place one there. And I did not bring enough door frames at this point, and so I did have to go back and make more. I did have one door frame, and I can't seem to figure out what I'm doing here. So there's another door frame right there. And you can kind of see the little gap that's created by putting the door frames here. It gives you a little window. we will push on a little further. So here we bring out a generator at this point. We can now install that generator. You may want to install the generator pre-building most of the wall structure and place it beforehand. You might have some issues with if you're on a collision-based server, it will prevent you from building a lot of this stuff. You also notice that there are some ramps that are placed up. Those ramps are not necessarily important, but always a little extra layering never hurts a thing. So I put the extra layering on the structure. And you can see actually we've even got a ceiling, a ramp, and we've kind of skipped ahead at this point. And then I realized I've made a big mistake here. I've seen the ramp used before, but I actually prefer a much better route. And so after fidgeting with it for a little bit, trying to get it more properly built, because I was also checking on the generator, trying to make sure it's going to be wired, I finally realized to pull the ramp out. So here it was at this point that I realized I messed up with the ramp, and so I ended up pulling that ramp finally, and finally placed the door, which got us our full vantage point of all different directions. You really won't be able to see too much behind you, but honestly, if they're that close to your base, these sniper towers are not meant to, I mean, they're meant to protect you, and they're supposed to be around the base for sniping without being seen. You'll want to be able to use these for teleport, so you'll have a bed in here and everything. You almost won't be honestly, you don't even need the ladder. The ladder is there if you need to run inside, because hopefully you've got everything set up inside the base to where you don't have to worry about this. So here it is, what you'll do next. After you get all the doors frames placed, you will start placing walls just up above it. And it is a little hard. Press Q probably to get those to connect for you. Yep, there we go. We got that one. And then we're going to go ahead and now you can see we have these nice little window slits that we can use to fire out of. What you'll see at this point is, though, there is an issue with the tower, and that is that you can pretty much only see directly out in front of you. You can see the ground, yes, to a certain degree, but if anybody is running up on the tower, they'll quickly overrun the tower if they're any sort of close distance to the tower, and you'll not be able to engage them, which means they will take care of the tower itself by blowing it up with C4, or yeah, basically placing C4, or they can hide around the edge of the tower, making you have to come out and fight. Otherwise, you are stuck in there waiting on them. Now, on the note of that, if you do place a bed on top, you could teleport somewhere else, but we did come up with another solution. You can see right now, though, the top of the tower is uh, not uh, not covered with additional armor. The reason why we didn't do that is I felt it'd be a waste at this point. I mean, it might help to have an extra sheet of metal, mainly door frames in this case, because you would otherwise interfere with the window slits for your shooting. So door frames would be the only way to go about it. And unfortunately, if they are placing rockets in the center of those window frames, if they're managing to get them through in the first place, they're just going to damage the structure. So there's almost no point to place extra armor in that spot, because you're still going to be able to use the tower even if they blow the tower apart on the top. It will still survive. So it didn't take too long to come up with the solution here. When I found the ramp was too problematic, blocking line of sight directly in front. What I turned out to do was place a box, and the first time I placed it, I did have some trouble getting in the door, so you do have to worry about that. You want to make sure that you can actually access the structure and not block yourself from getting in. So what I came to, my conclusion was that aside from opening the door and fixing myself, was to move the box up just a little bit. Then I decided to move the box excessively forward instead, as you'll see here in just a moment. What you'll see at this point is after placing the first box here, you can basically get a much better vantage point about what's coming closer to you. You can shoot things as they come a little closer, and all you got to do is back up just a little bit to gain that extra sight in other directions. Also, you can look across and you can see a lot further, or you can always back down into the center of the area and stand in order to make your shots count and get further out line of sight. What you will also notice though is that I will place multiple other boxes. These boxes can act as a double standard as well, where they can be storage for equipment, anything you might need, and at the same time, you can stand on them to get that line of sight to look down, or again, you can back down and actually view from the center by just standing. If you can manage to get a bed in here, place it right where I'm standing. It works out best that way because you'll wake up standing right in the center of your structure and you'll have three boxes directly around you. Pick one as a standard where your weapon where your equipment is always at, obviously. Or if you need that much ammunition stored away, you can always store it in these boxes. Now there is another build very similar to this. This one in particular allows you to engage targets no matter what, while the other one, while reducing the size of the slit that you can see through and actually protecting you more, it prevents you from attacking unridden dinos. Wild dinos and unridden dinos are incapable of being injured, while a dino that is being ridden by a player can actually still be injured. It's weird, I know, but when the slit is reduced, it seems to do this. So basically, what you'll end up having to do is leave the structure if you after you've killed the rider in order to kill the dino, which could be dangerous for you, as leaving the structure might in turn cause you some trouble. Therefore, in my opinion, this structure, despite the fact that there are some expert marksmen, even if you can be shot back in here, the slits are very small, leaving you with very little chance of being shot anyway. Uh, it works out much better in my opinion versus actually hopping out and getting killed. Now, something you'll want to do once you actually have got the structure built is place a turret on top, maybe even two. One turret will generally satisfy most situations, but two will be preferable. If you're in this structure and you want to prevent the enemy from coming up on you, you can probably do so between the combination of you and the turret. But if the turret is the only thing operating and they want to take out these turret structures, this could be complicated as the turret has trouble killing people in flak armor. I want you to keep in mind this is standard flag armor, but I'm a very healthy character. A different level of armor could make the difference between whether or not someone gets there more easily than me with less health. They could be faster. They could also have dinosaurs in the way like I do in some fashion. This turret was also only set at medium range, which means it would have engaged a little sooner had it been set for long range, but there is always the chance that they have some very good armor and their armor doesn't break as soon as mine did. I'd like to add on top of that, I wasn't even sprinting during this, and most of my damage actually came once the armor broke. Had this person sprinted or they had very good armor, they might be able to just run up on it no problem anyway. That being said, cheap flak armor might be enough to do a suicide run with some C4 on his back and then blow up the tower that way. This is why I also suggest those spike walls in order to prevent the players from running directly up and suicide, and they could have a C4 strapped to their back and just explode. The spike walls will at least hold them off for a little while, giving you a little more time to react. One thing you'll definitely want to remember before you actually go out there and try and do any testing with it or leave it just to its own is to make sure you do load it up with fuel. You're going to want to make sure these things are powered. If you can run cabling between every single one of them so you have a universal one, and when they lose power, if the power will cut that they turn on, feel free to do so. That wouldn't be a bad idea as well, but that does mean you're going to be running a lot of cable. But without powering these things, the turret would be utterly useless, and basically you're relying on yourself at that point. You probably won't have time to load these otherwise, so make sure you have them pre-stocked ready to run, even if it's just a little bit of gasoline set to only turn on during emergencies when the cables are broken. Another thing is to remember that you actually have the turret turned on. There is the chance that you've forgotten to turn the turret on at all, and especially if you've never ran any fuel to the generator, and therefore if you don't have the turret on, even if you power the generator, the turret's not going to react. So make sure you put fuel in the generator. What you're going to see here now is how easily a turret can actually dispatch a barrage of rockets. This is a rocket being fired at it from distance. You can see it blows it up and actually funnily destroys the rocket on the way there. But you can see a single turret can actually handle multiple rockets, so it would take a lot of rockets for the turret not to be able to stop them all. And you can see almost as quickly as they're recognized, and in the end, even with infinite stats on, I did blow myself up. So if they try and approach and get closer, they're just going to destroy themselves. All right, guys. So this is a different format than I have done in the past. I hope you guys enjoyed it. This is me recording after the fact, then going through and doing it on the spot. I hope you guys enjoyed it, but that is going to be the end of this video. If you guys did enjoy it, please let me know in the comments down below. But you guys take care, and I'll